The Anti-Zoom, interviews that shouldn't work but do.
Welcome back to the Anti-Zoom, where we explore job interviews that broke every rule but somehow led to dream jobs. I'm Sarah, and today we're diving into the story of Maya Patel, a senior developer who admitted in her technical interview that she uses AI coding assistants for basically everything, and still landed a senior engineer position at a top tech company. Maya set the scene. What was this interview for?
Senior software engineer at a fintech company. They were really focused on engineering excellence and had a reputation for rigorous technical interviews. You know, the kind where they expect you to write perfect algorithms on a whiteboard without any help.
And you decided to tell them you use AI for everything.
Not exactly planned that way, but when they asked me to solve a coding problem without any external tools, well, let's just say I had a moment of radical honesty.
Wavy lines and different lighting.
All right, Maya, for this technical question, we'd like you to implement a rate limiter algorithm. You can use the whiteboard, and please don't use any external resources. We want to see your raw problem-solving ability.
Before I start, can I ask you something? In your day-to-day work, do your engineers typically implement algorithms without any reference materials?
Well, no, but we want to test your fundamental knowledge.
I appreciate that, but I need to be honest with you. In my actual work, I use AI coding assistants for probably 80% of my implementation, not because I can't code, but because it makes me dramatically more productive.
Uncomfortable silence.
You use AI to write your code.
Let me explain what I mean. I don't just copy-paste AI output. I use AI as an intelligent pair programming partner. It helps me explore solutions faster, catches syntax errors, suggests optimizations, and handles boilerplate. But I'm still architecting, reviewing, testing, and making all the engineering decisions.
I can imagine the interviewer's face at this point.
He looked like I'd just admitted to cheating on my SATs, but I figured if I was going to work there, they needed to know how I actually work, not how I perform in artificial conditions.
But how do we know you actually understand the code if AI is writing it?
That's like asking how you know I understand a building if I use power tools instead of hand tools. The AI doesn't understand your business logic, your edge cases, your performance requirements, or how this code fits into your broader architecture. That's all me. Want me to prove it? Give me that rate limiter problem, but let me show you how I'd actually approach it in the real world.
Okay, but how would you do that without a computer?
I'll walk through my thought process. First, I'd ask the AI about different rate limiting approaches: token bucket, sliding window, fixed window. I'd evaluate the trade-offs for your specific use case. Then I'd have it generate a basic implementation, but I'd be the one defining the interface, handling edge cases, and optimizing for your infrastructure. The AI might write the code, but I'm writing the requirements, designing the system, and making the engineering judgments. It's like having a really fast typist who knows syntax perfectly.
But what happens when the AI generates buggy code?
The same thing that happens when any code has bugs. I catch them in code review, testing, or monitoring. Actually, I catch AI bugs faster than human bugs because I'm more suspicious of generated code. I review it more carefully than code I write myself.
And what about when you need to debug complex issues?
That's where AI really shines. It can help me trace through code paths, suggest debugging approaches, and even analyze logs. But the critical thinking about what might be wrong and how to fix it, that's still all human. AI is a tool, not a replacement for engineering judgment.
How did David respond to this?
He got quiet for a moment, then asked me something I wasn't expecting.
Can you give me a specific example of how using AI made you more effective on a recent project?
Sure, last month I needed to integrate with a third-party API that had terrible documentation. Instead of spending hours figuring out their authentication flow, I fed the API docs to Claude and had it generate example requests. Then I iterated with it to handle edge cases and error scenarios. What normally would have taken me a full day of trial and error took about 2 hours. But the key is, I still had to understand the business requirements, design the error handling strategy, and integrate it properly with our existing systems.
So you're saying AI helped you focus on the engineering challenges rather than the implementation details.
Exactly. I spent my time on architecture, user experience, and business logic instead of remembering HTTP header syntax. The AI handled the boilerplate, I handled the thinking. That's when I could see his perspective shifting. He started asking different questions.
What about other engineers on your team? Do they use AI tools?
Some do, some don't. The ones who don't are usually either concerned about code quality, which is valid, or they feel like it's cheating. But I've noticed the AI users tend to ship features faster and spend more time on high-level design.
Have you seen any downsides?
Definitely. Junior developers can become too dependent on it without understanding the fundamentals. Sometimes AI suggestions lead you down wrong paths if you don't have the experience to recognize bad patterns. And there's always the risk of introducing security vulnerabilities if you're not careful. That's why I think AI works best for senior engineers who already have strong fundamentals. We can leverage the productivity gains while avoiding the pitfalls.
I have to ask, aren't you worried about becoming dependent on these tools? What if they're not available?
That's like asking if I'm worried about becoming dependent on IDEs or Stack Overflow. These are productivity tools, not crutches. I can still code without them, it just takes longer and is more tedious. But here's the thing, in a competitive industry, why would I voluntarily make myself slower and less efficient? If my competitors are using AI effectively and I'm not, I'm at a disadvantage.
So, how did the interview conclude?
David said something that completely surprised me.
You know what? We've been thinking about AI tools for our team, but we weren't sure how to approach it. It sounds like you could help us figure out best practices.
I'd love to. There's definitely a right way and a wrong way to integrate AI into engineering workflows.
Would you be interested in not just using these tools, but helping us develop guidelines for the whole engineering team?
And that's how admitting you use AI for everything got you a job.
Not just a job, they created a role for me as their AI tools champion. What started as a confession turned into a unique value proposition.
How has it worked out?
6 months later, our entire team is using AI tools effectively. Developer productivity is up about 40%, and code quality has actually improved because people are spending more time on design and less time on syntax.
Any resistance from the team?
Initially, yes, some senior engineers felt like it was cheating or would make them worse programmers. But once they saw how it freed them up to work on more interesting problems, most came around. Now they can't imagine going back.
What would you tell other developers who are hesitant to admit they use AI tools?
First, be clear about how you use them. Don't just say AI writes my code, explain your process, your safeguards, and your quality controls. Show that you're using AI thoughtfully, not blindly. Second, focus on outcomes. Companies care about shipping quality software efficiently. If AI helps you do that better, that's a competitive advantage, not a weakness.
And for hiring managers who might be skeptical about AI-assisted development,
ask the right questions. Don't test whether someone can write bubble sort from memory, test whether they can solve real problems, make good architectural decisions, and write maintainable code. The tools they use to get there matter less than the results. And honestly, if your team isn't exploring AI tools yet, you're probably falling behind. Better to hire someone who can help you navigate this transition thoughtfully.
Maya Patel, everyone proof that sometimes admitting you use the latest tools can be exactly what employers are looking for. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. And remember, every tool was controversial when it was new. AI coding assistants are just the latest evolution in developer productivity.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Anti-Zoom. Next time, we'll hear from a product manager who got hired after telling a startup their entire business model was doomed. Until then, remember, honesty about your actual workflow might be more valuable than performing outdated interview rituals.
Subscribe for more unconventional career stories.